We recently took a trip to Crystal River, Florida to swim with the manatees. In the summer months, manatees can be found as far north as Cape Cod, but because temperatures below 68 degrees can lead to cold stress and even death, in the winter months they typically migrate to Crystal River and Homosassa Springs, Florida, where the waters remain a cozy 72 degrees throughout the year. After watching a brief video on the rules of manatee etiquette, we went out at 9 a.m. with Captain Mike's Sunshine River Tour. It took us about 40 minutes to get to where the manatees were. The first two we saw swam away from us immediately, and the third one appeared to be sleeping on the murky river bottom. But then I spotted this friendly fella, whose name we later learned was Goofball. Goofball was feeding on the seagrass beside a private residential dock when I first spotted him. But unlike the other manatees we'd seen, he immediately became very curious and swam directly over to check me out. Manatees can measure up to 13 feet in length and typically weigh over 1,200 pounds. But in person, they seem about as big as a Volkswagen Beetle. We had been instructed not to chase after the manatees, wave our arms, or make too much noise. Instead, waiting for them to swim up to us before petting them. I watched wistfully as Goofball swam past me, unsure of whether or not we'd ever get a chance to interact with him. Manatees are herbivores and typically eat 10 to 15% of their body weight each day. Every once in a while, Goofball would dive down and grab a big old mouthful of seagrass, and every 3 to 5 minutes he'd come back up to the surface to get some air. Eventually, he came right over to where our little group was floating. It almost looked like he was sniffing my daughter's life jacket, sort of like a dog would. At this point, he was so close to us, I could barely fit him into frame. As he rolled over and swam around us, you could begin to see the huge scars on Goofball's back. Because manatees are slow-moving, curious, and tend to hang out in shallow waters, most of them have major scarring from collisions with fast-moving recreational boats. Crystal River has tons of signs warning boaters to slow down, but we saw several boaters who didn't. By this time, it was pretty clear that Goofball was ready for a good belly and back scratching, and I couldn't stifle my giggles as Alex, Mary, and I rubbed him all over like a little puppy dog. Manatees get tons of algae accumulating on their skin, and Goofball seemed to relish the attention, rolling and turning all over so that we could get all the good spots. Eventually, the other snorkelers got cold, even with our wetsuits on, and made their way back to the boat for some hot chocolate. But I wasn't quite ready to call it a day just yet. So I swam slowly alongside Goofball, listening to the high-pitched squeaking sounds with which manatees communicate. It was one of the most moving experiences of my life, swimming with these gentle creatures in the crystal clear waters for which the river gets its name. As the friendly sea cow swam on, I began to understand how sailors could fall in love with these mystical creatures of the sea.